A few days ago, the X profile called the Church of England, which I assume is the official X profile of this Christian community, wrote a post saying, quote, "Our roots go back to the time of the Roman Empire, when the Church came into existence in what was then the province of Britain." End quote. This triggered an avalanche of reaction from Roman Catholics, who said that the institution called the Church of England was founded by King Henry VIII in the 16th century, had nothing to do with the Roman Empire. Before I begin, I want to emphasize that I do respect our sisters and brothers who belong to the Church of England. I also have great respect for King Charles III, whom I must mention in an unfavorable tone in this context. But facts are facts, and when souls are at stake, I cannot remain silent, but must call a spade a spade. Glossing over the truth for the sake of false ecumenism has already cost many souls, and that must stop. What I want to say is this: the schism that created the so-called Church of England was a terrible act, and there is no excuse, no mitigating circumstance whatsoever that can be considered to Henry VIII. His request to the Pope to declare his marriage to Catherine of Aragon invalid was a divorce in disguise, as the question of whether Catherine's marriage to his brother was valid or not did not concern him for 17 years, during which he had 3 children from Catherine. The first was stillborn, the second died 2 months after his birth. Only Catherine and Harry's daughter, Mary, survived. He wanted a son, a male heir to the throne. He had fallen in love with Anne Boleyn, the sister of his former lover, Mary Boleyn, and wanted to marry her. The king asked the Pope for a divorce and not for a declaration of nullity. Before God, he would therefore have been an adulterer, even if he had married Anne Boleyn with the Pope's permission. The Pope is not above God's law. He cannot bless sin. A sacrament cannot be annulled unless it is null and void from the beginning. A king is also subject to this law, even if he cannot have male heirs. We can only conclude that the church that Henry VIII created is a church whose roots lie in adultery. When the representatives of this church forbade Princess Margaret Windsor to marry a divorcee in the late 50s of the last century, they did the right thing. But it is utterly ridiculous that they did not realize how strange it is that the church founded on adultery should defend the sanctity of marriage. A few years later, however, they had to capitulate and accept the adulterous relationship of the heir to the throne, Prince Charles, son of Queen Elizabeth. To do this, they had to resort to a fake atonement ceremony in which the adulterous prince and his civilly married wife had to atone for their past sins, even though they were still living in sin. This situation is not surprising. After all, it seems quite natural that an adulterous king should be the head of a church whose roots lie in adultery. Henry VIII separated the Church of England from the church founded by Jesus and considered himself the head of the church, which inevitably had consequences for the purity of the faith. Apart from the fake ordination of women in recent decades, what the Church of England believed and believes was not and is not entirely what the Catholic Church believes. The fact that the head of state became the head of the church had the inevitable consequence that when the form of government changed, the absolute monarchy in Britain no longer exists. Parliament and the government took over the leadership of the church and became the actual heads of the church itself. The inevitable consequence is that today a Hindu, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, leads the Church of England. Soon a Muslim may even become Prime Minister and thus the real head of the Church of England. This is one of the poisoned fruits of Henry VIII's bizarre schism. Apart from the secret love affairs he had during his first marriage to Catherine of Aragon, the king's later life showed that the Pope made the right decision in not agreeing to his request for annulment of his first marriage. The king was a serial adulterer and had 5 other wives. The marriage to Anne Boleyn, the one which the Pope should have agreed to, ended with Anne Boleyn being executed on the king's orders. The same happened to his 5th wife, Catherine Howard. In the end, he did have a male heir from his 3rd wife, Jane Seymour, but he was very weak and ill and died at the age of 15. From this we can conclude that Henry VIII caused the schism that rotted his soul and the souls of countless others, all for nothing. The chaos caused by this new Jeroboam led to unrest and disorder, followed by centuries of religious persecution. About half a century after the schism, his rightful heir, James II, was overthrown because he was Catholic. A foreign army, the Dutch army, invaded the country, and as the Stuart dynasty was Catholic, a foreign house, the Hanovers, was brought from Germany to power in England, with a king who did not speak a word of the local language and did not know the customs and traditions of his subjects. For decades, this German house was not accepted by much of the British population. Not even Protestant Anglicans accepted him because he was the representative of a foreign power, while the rightful heir to the last rightful king was prevented from getting his kingdom back because he was Catholic. After King Henry's schism, Catholics were persecuted within the reign. For centuries they were not allowed to live in London. They were victims of genocide in Ireland and are still unwelcome in the royal family today. God forbid that a Catholic should again become the head of a church led by a Hindu. The Church of England is a human institution, and like all human institutions, it will sooner or later disappear. The promise that the gates of hell will not prevail against the church refers to the one church that Jesus founded on the rock of Peter, not to a human artifact. From a human perspective, it's obvious that the Roman Catholic Church is no paradise on earth. But if we look beyond human weaknesses, the light of a holy and undefiled church shines because Christ lives in it, which is not the case with the Church of England. The Roman Catholic Church is the mother from whom a lustful and adulterous king separated all Christians who are today members of the Church of England. It is high time that they came home again.